Hello, today we've got a video. Alright, let's get around to it. So, before we get into anything, we've got a new stability map because I was tired of redrawing all the lines and whatnot. So, we're just going to do the circles like we do for the ideology map. And, I would do this for the religious map, but it wouldn't really work. So, we've got this. And honestly, I think it's pretty good. But, anyway, aside from that, let's get on to the actual video. We're going to see that a alliance, a new one, forms. So we have this alliance, that's the only alliance we have at the moment. But we're going to make an alliance between France, the Netherlands, and England. And, that's just because they're all pretty good, friends. So they're like, why not? But, yeah. Now we're going to see that... Why did I go on that layer? So if we go on the religion map, we see that there's still the Caucasus, Stan religion. And Caspia and Turkey, we don't like that. No. So they, basically just decide that they're going to go on, crusades and basically cleanse or whatever. Just, convert people to their religion. So I've drawn the outlines of each country, so they can't step foot in there. Crimea is basically allowing the blue team to, just crusade through them, because, they get their sovereignty at the end of the day. And Caspia, they're just going to go through all of this. First up, we're just going to see that the Israeli religion kicked out. But anyway, so the first thing that Caspia and Turkey does is that they go through these counties which are divided at the moment, and they completely convert them. And Turkey's also doing this, so they go through that. And then, so they do all of that. And these crusades are going to kind of go on for a few episodes. If I turn off this map, we're going to see that for this episode and next episode, there's going to be crusades in this former country. And yeah, so there's going to be crusades which, take over the counties. But anyway, back to these guys. The border is going to connect up with, Turkey and the Crimean bit. As they get all of this, and they convert all of, this bit of Crimea. And Turkey ultimately finishes once getting up to, this. Yeah, they do that. Get all of, this. And they stop here. Ultimately, this is what's left of the religion. So France is going to basically fight Germany, but not to take any land, because I'm just going to show you. Alright, so here we have, the borders of Germany. And if we turn on this map, we see these are the borders that are there currently. But we see that France is going to have, a skirmish with Italy. Down here, There's going to have a little skirmish in Germany to try and spread their religion. The whole thing has a bit with, the Danes and the Greeks who get fully pushed out by not only the French, but also the Italians. As they're both kind of fighting. But there really is just, Germany's in the middle of, just a war between Italy and France. But eventually we see that France prevails Seeing this, while this war was going on, we also see that the Greek team pushes up to, like, here with their crusades. And they're just going to connect this. They remain a bit prominent. But, you know, that's enough crusading for now. So basically we see that these three, like, counties move, like, from Egypt. They break away. And, oops. That means we need to fix this, like, ideology map, which we need to fix in general in the future, but whatever. But, yeah. So, no, we don't want blue. So, Egypt, and now, like, I don't know, like, beige Egypt, are both forced to be puppets, in which they have two different ideologies, though. And they're kind of enemies, because, you know, this one broke away from this one. So, Egypt is just going to remain a monarchy under them. Except because this one broke away from Egypt, they haven't really done anything wrong. Because they haven't done anything wrong, they're allowed to follow their own, and they're going to become an oligarchy. And seeing the return of oligarchies kind of sends a message to the world, like, hey, you know, let's just change our ideology, because why not? Let's just pull our mix up. And, you know, I just felt like changing a bunch of ideologies. So the first one is going to be Caspia, who returns to an oligarchy, which is the real reason this sets off. Which Israel and Red Arabia don't want to associate with the other guys, so they become a monarchy and get this circle out here. And finally, Italy is also going to become a monarchy. There's going to be one more nation though, and that's the UAE. And you may be thinking, what? They don't exist, but they're about to. So it originally starts just at the tip of here, except they make their way down, slowly, like, rebelling and fighting against the military, who haven't all arrived here yet. They're trying to cross this, like, sea, but they haven't yet. Like, they're trying to cross the Persian Gulf. But by the time they arrive, like, all of this land has been taken. They can't be able to take all this back, so they just let them become their own nation. And their capital is going to be right at the tip. Not on layer 1, on layer 3. Right on the tip. And their ideology, as I said, is a monarchy, because they were getting funded by Red Arabia and Israel. On the topic of new nations, we see that Turkey sends out some explorers from here, who, like, I'm just going to explore a bit outwards. Because why not? But anyway, so they kind of explore. No. They explore down, they go, like, here, and they slowly go crazy without water or real supplies, until eventually they form a tiny little nation over here. And these guys are going to be this colour, because that's going to be the colour of their ideology. And their ideology is going to be a new one, because it's a new colour. In which this ideology is going to be a very rare ideology. I don't think this exists today. Don't know if it ever existed, but yeah, it is anarchism, where nobody rules, and it's just like a dystopia. It's kind of where just, like, there's no rules, just nothing. It's all just crazy. Just everyone does whatever they want. Because, you know, that can't possibly go wrong. And the capital is right in the centre. Because why not, you know? It's already unrealistic. But, yeah. Now we're going to see that more of Africa is explored. And finally the whole coastline is. As they start in South Africa, like, Moroccan explorers go down this coast. And eventually they meet up. And they start, like, investigating. Like, they start going outwards. Because they start, like, finding tribes around this area. And they also explore up to here. in which they find some tribes here, but they haven't explored it fully. They're finding signs of tribes. And also, like, down here, there's some signs, but it isn't guaranteed yet. Not wanting to be left out, we see Europe gets on the exploration train, as Western Russia is explored by Caspia, Ukraine, Ottomans, and Finland. And they reach up to, like, there before they start losing too many people and have to quit. And, you know, they explore all of this, and they partition up, like, a bit of the land. Not too much, but, like, a bit. You know, just for their troubles. So, out of how much land they each get, I'd say Caspia probably gets the most, then Turkey, then Finland, Nordia, then Ukraine. But, they're not going to reach all of that. Finland gets all of that, you know. Ukraine gets all that. The Ottomans get all that. Nordia gets all of that, plus the 2 islands, which they haven't quite discovered these, like, Northern Ireland. They haven't discovered these Northern Islands yet, but they're nearly there. But after this, you know, like, the other, like, people in Europe are like, hey, we don't want to miss out. These guys kind of have to miss out, though. But Scotland and, like, England don't have to. So, in a group effort, they stretch up to Iceland and discover that. And, you know, because England got all of Ireland, they, like, let Scotland get Iceland, because it's not even as valuable anyway. So, yeah, they're on pretty good terms. I keep on calling, like, these guys, like, warmongers, but I mean to say expansionist and imperialist, but seeing as I keep on calling them that, then, you know, may as well just start calling them that from now on. So, from now on, they are going to have a war against Korea and the Sakhalin nation, which they are much stronger than, because this land isn't really as valuable. Like, they're just stronger. They've been preparing their military more. So, they set some of their military up to fight, like, over here. And they cut off, like, the northern bit of Korea from the rest and make it down to here. Which, before they can send help, they send their military from this island up and encircle the capital, meaning they cannot call anyone for help, because they also have, like, naval superiority. After that, they start a trek into Japan, which we're just going to discover the rest of Japan now, you know. It's been long enough. I think it's time that we discover some more. So that island is now discovered, and all of Japan. So they take over all of Japan. And they also take over this island here, in which all of Sakhalin's, like, military is stationed right there. So they make a bit of progress, but not much. But in this front, they start making it up, and without the king's orders, the people don't really know what to do. So, in which case, they just kind of give up, and, like, they don't know how to fight. And the capital is seized before all of this land is taken, as it wasn't really getting defended. And then they make their way from the north. Now all the military is stationed up here, meaning that they can get to there. And they fall. After the effects of this war, we don't see any, like, peace treaty, like, official peace treaty. But we do see that that's just a full annexation. They just, like, use their army, stop any rebellions, any more troops, and just call it a day. Take all the land. No, they're imperialist. They're expansionist. After that, we see that, finally, apart from the Sahara, so we can turn that map off now, we finally see that, apart from the Sahara, all of Africa is discovered. And they do try their way in the Sahara, like the Sahara. But it doesn't really go well. They send out a few troops, but they're just, like, dying. So over the next few episodes, they might end up making it there. But for now, they're just gonna call it a day here. And this is when they really actually, like, discover the tribes that are here. There's 3 major ones that they find, and there's other tribes scattered around, but, like, these tribes aren't, like, as important, because there's, like, small tribes, which aren't really marked on the map, and I'm not going to mark on the map, because they're not very important. But, I'll mark the 3 big ones. So, these guys all obviously followed tribalism, because they're, like, big tribes. And they're, like, a group of tribes who all kind of, like, are the same. And, yeah, like, they're kind of formed, because why not? We're also going to see, because why not? That's the whole goal of this episode. Just see how many times I can say, why not? We're going to see that Somalia expands. But, yeah. So that happens. And if you want to go on there, like, if you want to check the capitals and whatnot, I'm not going to give them provinces. Just because, I don't know. I just don't see them having provinces. Guess I could give them ones to represent where the different tribes are. But apart from that, no. So it's going to be where the main tribes are. So the main tribe in the yellow team is here. But you can't really see that. Main tribe is there. And this main tribe is there. But, yeah. That's all I want to cover. I think the only other thing is that Turkey and Caspia aren't the only ones with guns now. As Crimea discovers, like, some guns, then, like, they make guns that's not as advanced as the ones that Ottomans have, and Caspia aren't as advanced because Ottomans have been updating theirs. Well, Caspia just has the prototype, kinda. You could call it that. And also, another nation, Greece, ends up building a gun on the same level as the Ottomans, just, like, a bit weaker. So guns are really starting to become worldwide. But, yeah, that's it.